Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is your boy Fitzmonk TV here, aka G Lauren33. I am back here today with the Legit Shoe Podcast, here with your WrestleMania 37 Night 2 official results and review. Thank you guys so very much for joining me. Hopefully, you guys are staying safe and healthy. First thing I want to get out of the way, I know my voice sounds very, very raspy. If you guys were here for the Night 1 review, I told you guys I had a really sore throat, and that review was a struggle to get through, but we were able to get through it. I still don't understand how I was able to go a whole hour and 45 minutes, but we were still able to do it. Not gonna lie, my throat doesn't really feel much better tonight, and we're gonna get through this like we always do. But if I sound a little bit weird, I don't think it's COVID or anything, but my throat doesn't, feel good. I know my voice may sound a little bit different. It is what it is. Hopefully, I'll be fine in the next couple of days because, like I said, we had WrestleMania last night. Now we have night 2 to talk about today, and then we have Monday Night Raw tomorrow night to get through as well. Plus, I have some other, extra bonus videos, some bonus podcast episodes I want to give you guys. So, I need my voice to be able to do those reviews. So hopefully y'all feel better. But I know some of you guys reached out on social media. Thank you guys. I'm doing okay, all right? My voice doesn't feel the best, but still, it's WrestleMania weekend. We're going to tough it through, right? But yes, WrestleMania Night 2 tonight. First thing I want to say about WrestleMania, I said this last night, and I also said I would repeat it on the Night 2 review. It is in the best interest of WWE to continue with the two-night format going forward. I know next year for WrestleMania 38 and 39, right, in Dallas and then Hollywood, California, I know that they want to keep it at one night. But I think it's in the best interest for everyone if they keep it for 2 nights. Imagine, like, tonight's show was about, I would say, a little bit over 3 hours, about 3 hours 15. Night 1, if you take out the rain delay, it was around just about 3 hours. So if they had decided to do one night, combine night 1 and night 2, it would have been 6 hours of wrestling. And I'm sorry, nobody can handle that. Basically what? The show would start at 7 and then end around, a little past midnight into closer to 1 a.m. Nobody wants to go through that. And we've seen in the past WrestleManias, right? Like WrestleMania 33 and 34, the show has been hurt by having a 5, 6, 7 hour show. It doesn't matter how you can make the best card ever. Nobody can handle that much wrestling, especially someone who sits in an arena, indoor, outdoor, doesn't matter. No one can take that much wrestling. So I feel like WWE would be in their best interest to keep the two-night format going forward, especially when they have as many superstars as they do, as many championships, as many matches, so that everybody gets, equal amount of time, right? And everyone gets to showcase their abilities and actually go out there and give their best performances. I feel like it's best that they keep it for 2 nights, because I'm going to give you guys my top 5 matches from the last, probably my top 6, right? I'm going to give you guys my top 5, top 6 matches of both nights of WrestleMania right now. And I'm telling you, right, it's a much more difficult list to make if it's just one night, all right? Because matches would have to get cut short, you have to rush things, and, I'm going to say it, night 1 was better than night 2, and by a significant margin. Night 2 felt rushed, if I'm being honest with you guys. On paper, night 2 had the better card. It had the better slate of matches. Because night 1 had a lot of matches, especially from the Monday Night Raw side of things, that I was not excited for. Like Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon, the Raw Tag Team Championship, Bad Bunny and Damian Priest against Miz and Morrison. I wasn't excited for those matches. But for the most part, those matches delivered and did their job. But night 2 had the better slate of matches for the most part, but then when you look at the actual show itself, it felt rushed. It really felt rushed. Everything outside of that main event tonight felt really rushed. And it's a little bit of a disappointment because I feel like most people had more hype for night 2. but night one outperformed night two outside of the main event. You know, if we're talking about the top five matches, top five, top six matches, in my opinion, and this is my list, number one easily would be the triple threat main event tonight with Roman, Edge, and Bryan, which we'll talk about a lot tonight on the podcast. That was absolutely fantastic from start to finish. Two, I would give to the other main event from night one, Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. They absolutely killed it with one of the best women's wrestling matches we've seen in a long time, and arguably the best women's match we've seen at WrestleMania ever, right? Number three, this is where things get a little bit dicey. I would say number three would most likely be Seth Rollins and Cesaro from night one. Number four, I would probably give the edge just a little bit to Bad Bunny. In his debut, he really stole the show. Really stole the show. Number five, I would probably give to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I really enjoyed that match tonight. It wasn't the best match we've ever seen from Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, especially compared to the match they had, I believe, in 2016, back when Owens was still a heel and Zayn was the babyface. But I really enjoyed what KO and Sami Zayn gave us tonight. And in number six, I would put Asuka and Rhea Ripley. That match kind of disappointed me tonight, but it wasn't bad or anything like that. You know, and like I said, if you have WrestleMania as only one night with all those matches, because I think last night, I think each night had about 7 matches, something like that. If you have 14 matches slated for one night of WrestleMania, like we've seen in the past, that list is much more difficult to make. And I believe we're coming out of WrestleMania with more of a negative, vibe, more of a negative, point of view of this show. Why you think, people don't really talk about WrestleMania 33 and WrestleMania 34? Those 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 shows were ridiculously long, right? Because they had about 13, 14 matches. And like I said, you can't have that many matches on a wrestling show. You can't. Especially when you have the fans sitting there for 5, 6, 7 hours. So I really hope Vince and the people backstage, I hope they really consider pushing WrestleMania into a two-night format for the foreseeable future. I feel like that would be the best for everybody. All right. But I will give WWE credit in this regard too, as well, right? The fact that they were able to, get this event done, because like I said a couple months ago, I said this last night. A couple months ago, it looked like WrestleMania was up in the air. We didn't know if we were going to be able to have a WrestleMania with fans. But the fact that they were able to get it done, mind you, it was only 25,000. 25,000 seating capacity compared to 70,000 for what we usually expect for WrestleMania, right? That's a huge difference, right? 55,000, person difference. But still, they did their best to make it feel like WrestleMania. The pyro, the stage, the setup, some of the matches. We got some of the best WrestleMania matches we've ever seen, in these last 2 nights. I'm mainly talking about Sasha and Bianca and, Reigns, Edge, and Bryan. I think those 2 matches alone are going to go down as two of the best WrestleMania matches in the past decade. And, all time, that's a subjective list. But I feel like those matches are in the discussion because they were so great. So great. And, you know, uh, I got to give them credit. They were able to get the job done. You know, even though I will say this, they didn't have any major surprises. There was no major, returns, anything like that. There was no Becky. There was no Cena, no Lesnar, no Rock, right? No Charlotte. I thought we would at least get one big surprise or return, but we didn't get any of that. They really just went with the matches on the card, did what they had to do, and so forth. I feel like next year for WrestleMania 38, when God willing things are back to normal and they're there in Dallas, right, with a full crowd, and hopefully, most people have been vaccinated from that point. I feel like next year they're gonna go all out with the surprises, all out. Because they were so limited from COVID and all these other things. The fact that we were able to get a WrestleMania is something to be grateful for, right? Because I feel like we will all agree nobody wanted WrestleMania in the Thunderdome or in the Performance Center or anything like that. The fact that they were able to have it in Raymond James Stadium and at the end of the day they were able to make it a somewhat memorable WrestleMania, gotta give them credit for that at the end of the day, right? Like I, but like I said, now let's focus a little more on night two. Like I said, night two was not better than night one. I was somewhat disappointed with night two, you know, but outside the main event, really, this wasn't the best show. I'm not saying it was terrible, right? Ripley and Oscar for the most part was a pretty good match. Biggie and Apollo was a good match. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn was fantastic, if you ask me. But Sheamus and Matt Riddle, that was really good. But if I'm being honest, I was disappointed. I was disappointed because I honestly, I was more hyped for night two than night one. The big thing for night one for me was Sasha and Bianca, but there was a lot more matches on night two, and it was just more of a bunch of okay, or good matches, but nothing really really great outside of the main event, right? And I'll quickly talk about Roman Reigns just before we get into the actual show. I want to say this about Roman Reigns just because. For those of you guys, no matter how long you've been listening to the podcast, right? Right? I've been doing this podcast now for what, 3 years now, I believe. Since, yeah, 3 years. I started doing this around WrestleMania 34. you know. And before that, I was doing only really like monthly pay per view videos, like short, like 10-minute discussion videos. But I've been basically doing podcasts now for 3 years. And I'm grateful for all the subscribers. I'm grateful for all the listens. Even though I argue with you guys all the time in the comment section and on social media, I'm grateful for you guys for listening. For no matter if you've been listening for no matter what duration of time, I've been saying now for years now that Roman Reigns should be a heel. And this tonight, right? I'll be the first to say it. I'd have Roman Reigns winning. I actually thought Roman Reigns was the least likely to win this match tonight. I thought Edge was the favorite, especially with, Edge turning heel here and becoming the rated R superstar again. And then, Daniel Bryan, right? This potentially being his last WrestleMania. I thought for sure that, it was going to be either Edge or Daniel Bryan, and we were going to have a new Universal Championship to close out WrestleMania. But Roman Reigns won. And I've been saying Roman Reigns should be heel now for years, a good 5 years, way before this podcast was what it was. And this tonight, but what Roman Reigns did in the main event. You guys got to remember, this was the first time that Roman Reigns as a heel performed in, with a live crowd. Because remember, Reigns turned heel back, at SummerSlam. And that's when they were first in the Thunderdome. So all these months, Reigns has been a heel, but he hasn't had that live crowd. But what Roman was able to do tonight, this is the Roman Reigns we should have always been getting. This is the Roman Reigns we always should have been getting because he is spectacular as a heel. This run that he is on right now, in my opinion, it is one of the all-time great heel runs. For real. This is, right now he's at the peak because there is nobody better than him in WWE right now. Nobody better. He is at the top of the mountain. And for all those years, you tried to put him as the next John Cena, right, as a top babyface, where clearly, when I was saying it, when the fans were saying it, everybody's saying that Reigns needs to be a heel. He does not need to be a babyface. Stop trying to force him to be something that the fans don't want him to be. And now you have finally turned Reigns into what we wanted to be, and now you're seeing the results of it. I'm already getting articles from Bleacher Report saying Reigns has just entered the greatest of all time discussion. And I think he's in there. I'm not saying Reigns is the GOAT. I'm not saying Reigns is Stone Cold Steve Austin or John Cena or The Undertaker or Shawn Michaels or Hulk Hogan or any of those guys. I'm not saying that. But tonight was an all-time legacy performance for Roman Reigns. I believe this may go down as the biggest moment in Roman Reigns' career. It's not the win against Triple H at WrestleMania 32. It's not the win against The Undertaker at WrestleMania 33. It's not any of his other title victories. It's not even his heel turn at SummerSlam. I feel like tonight, him pinning both Daniel Bryan and Edge at the same time as a heel, walking into the main event of WrestleMania 37 as champion and walking out still the Universal Champion as the number one heel and the number one guy in the entire company, I feel like tonight was the biggest moment in Roman Reigns' career. I really do think that. This is what he should have been all along. Imagine if Reigns has been imagine Reigns had been this guy from the start. Really. All those years ago when we told you to turn Reigns heel, imagine if you had actually done it then. Who knows where Reigns would be right now? The, the reason why is because we were frustrated with Reigns and him being shoved down our throats as a babyface for so many years. And then it was Reigns who, during the pandemic, went to WWE and begged to be turned heel. And now you're seeing the results of that. It's amazing to see, you know? And like I said, about a year ago, I was not a fan of Roman Reigns. Remember, a year ago, I was sitting here ranting about us having to deal with Roman Reigns and Goldberg. Reigns was still a babyface at the time. But now here we are a year later, and now I am a big fan of Roman Reigns. Because this is the Roman we should have always gotten. The only thing I would say, that I didn't like tonight, is, well, I'll say two things. One, I'm still waiting for Roman Reigns to come out wearing suits. I still want that, right? Oh, I've been on that for since Reigns turned heel back in August. And two, I didn't really like Jey Uso, getting involved. He didn't really need to be involved in that match at all. The focus should have just remained on Reigns, Bryan, and Edge. I feel like Jey Uso took a little bit too much away from this match, but that's just me nitpicking. But either way, man, this is the Reigns we should have already gotten. This is an all-time legacy performance. This will go down as, in my opinion, the biggest moment in Roman Reigns' career. I truly do believe that. And I'm happy for him, even though I am still surprised because he was not the favorite going into this match. I felt like he was the least likely to win, but still an all-time great performance. This is an all-time great heel run right now. And the fact that he's done, 90% of this inside a Thunderdome with no fans. To see what he was able to do tonight with fans in attendance, right? That was fantastic. And this championship reign is one of the best world title reigns in the last decade. It truly is. And, I have no idea who takes that title off of him. No idea. I'll talk about that a little bit more later on when we get to the main event, but I just wanted to give, some opening thoughts on Roman Reigns here early in the podcast, right? But great stuff from Roman tonight. Spectacular. Excuse me. Like I said, guys, my throat's killing me. But still, we're going to do our best here. So, getting into night 2 of WrestleMania, our first match of the night was The Fiend versus Randy Orton. I was not surprised that this opened the show because, I thought it was either going to be this match or it was going to be like Big E versus Apollo Crews. I thought it was going to be one of those two matches to open the show. Because last night, the night when it was obvious that, it was going to be the WWE Championship since Sasha and Bianca were main eventing. But tonight, outside the main event, there was, even though I would say night 2 had the more hyped, slate of matches, it was hard to see which one of those matches could actually open the show. But I was not surprised here. Randy Orton got a huge pop to start the show. Of course, he is a legend. He did do a little bit of pandering to the crowd on his way to the ring. I loved Randy Orton's ring gear. We're so used to Randy Orton wrestling with the black and gold usually. But tonight he had like a white, red, and black attire. I loved it, and Orton looked excited. Like I said, the big thing here is that you guys have to remember there was no stipulation with this match. That was the disappointment. There was no stipulation with this match because this is a blood feud. Last time we saw The Fiend and Randy Orton in competition, Randy Orton burnt The Fiend alive. That cannot be forgotten. He burnt The Fiend alive. So here we are at WrestleMania thinking, oh, maybe we get a Firefly Funhouse match. Maybe we get some kind of crazy stipulation to allow The Fiend to get his payback. No, we don't get any of that. We actually are slated to get a normal match. And that pissed me off because you have Randy Orton cutting all these promos talking about how he'll go to the lowest of lows to take out the Fiend for good. Well, how much lower can you get after burning a man alive? So, I was really disappointed that there was no stipulation here with this match. And like I said, this was a very, very weak opening to the show. Basically, this was all spectacle. I will say this: The Fiend and Alexa Bliss had a spectacular entrance, and that was about it. That was about it. There was really nothing else here, right? Because the pirate ship said "Let me in," which was a really cool visual. And then Alexa came out, and then there was a giant Jack in the Box, and Alexa turns the handle, and all of a sudden you see the Fiend rise out of the Jack in the Box, and the crowd was excited. The crowd was clearly on the Fiend side as they wanted to see him get payback on Randy Orton. Also, before the Fiend came out in the Jack in the Box, there was a clip backstage of like the Fiend walking through. I don't know what this was. He was in some kind of cagey area, but as he's walking through, you see he's healing himself. So basically, like all the burnt mass and all the burnt attire he had, right? It just went back to the normal Fiend look. So he didn't have any new mask. He was back to the normal Fiend, which I was like, okay, because I guess the Fiend, he does have supernatural powers, but I thought we would also get like a new. Uh, I thought we would get like a new Fiend master, a new look, but we didn't get anything. And like I said, this match was disappointed. Very disappointing. This had nothing. This was all about the spectacle, and that was it. That was it. There was no stipulation. There was nothing. So uh, the Fiend actually jumped on Randy Orton from the top of the box, wiping out Randy with a clothesline, and then he hit Uragari on Orton. Orton did the side suplex onto the announce table, but the Fiend no-sold as he no-sold for most of the match. Then we saw Orton deliver consecutive draping DDTs, but the Fiend, of course, would recover very quickly. The Fiend then wiped Orton out with a clothesline, then added a crossbody. Orton then did another DDT. All right, then he went for an RKO, but the Fiend reversed it into a mandible claw. All of a sudden, as the Fiend was in control, and this was very weird, and I was like, what, like, this actually got me a little bit angry. I was like, what are they doing here? Like, honestly, what are we doing here? You know. So, fire explodes from the turnbuckles, and all you see is Alexa Bliss. She appears on the top of the Jack in the Box, and she has like the black blood, the black ooze pouring down her face. And this distraction led to Orton hitting an RKO. Orton gets the win. So that's the end of that story, right? This is the end of Orton and the Fiend, and it ends in the most anticlimactic way possible. I was cool, the visual, of course, of Alexa with the black ooze over her face. It's a great visual. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. The visual looked fantastic, but you know, but still, like I said, this was a blood feud. Orton burnt this guy alive a couple months ago, and this is how it ends, with just a RKO off a distraction, and that's it. Really? You have Orton cut all these promos about him willing to do whatever it takes to get the Fiend out of his life, and that's what you choose to do? It's kind of disappointing. Like I said, it's kind of disappointing, you know? And I was never the biggest fan of this feud to begin with. It was just whatever. And I'm going to be honest, this was worse than, uh, than the match that the Fiend and Randy Orton had at WrestleMania. What was it? WrestleMania 33 a couple years ago for the WWE Championship. And we all know how bad that match was when you had the graphics in the middle of the ring. You know, this was not good at all. And once again, the feed gets done dirty. We talk about Sasha Banks and how unfortunate her WrestleMania streak is, right? Uh, I don't even think the feeds won. The feeds faced. Think about this. The feeds faced the Undertaker at WrestleMania. He's faced John Cena twice at WrestleMania. He's faced Randy Orton now twice at WrestleMania. He shared the ring with The Rock at WrestleMania. And the Fiend has no WrestleMania moments to show for that outside of a cinematic Firefly Funhouse match. Like, what? And that's sad. This was, you would think, that the Fiend would get his payback tonight, but all you see is they decide to go down this Alexa Bliss distraction route. After the match, Orton scampered up the ramp, right, getting away with the Fiend, and then all you see is the Fiend staring down Alexa Bliss, and Alexa Bliss staring down the Fiend, and all of a sudden, lights go off, and that's it. So it's almost like WWE's teasing some kind of breakup, or maybe they're doing something where Alexa became more and more powerful while the Fiend was out of commission over the last couple months while he was, recovering from Orton burning him alive. And now, like, I guess Alexa's the one that's taking over the partnership, right? Alexa's now the strong one. And, the Fiend has to, like, get used to that or try to, like, regain the power, or something because now Alexa has all the power, and that's trouble, of course. I don't know what the thing here is, but I would hope that WWE is not trying to tease a breakup of not Orton of the Fiend and Alexa. Yeah, I feel like most of us agree that Alexa works really well with the Fiend. They're a really good match, and I would hate to see WWE break up another good partnership for no reason. Because most of the time when they break up partnerships, they have no plans in place. You just saw that with the Hurt Business. We've seen that with countless and countless and countless examples the last couple of years of WWE. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But, we'll just have to wait and see what happens with Raw. But I hope they're not, considering splitting up Alexa and The Fiend. Definitely the visual look cool, but I hope that's not what they're doing. Maybe they can make this into some kind of unique storyline of, like I said, Alexa being power hungry in this partnership now, and her becoming the more powerful part of the partnership because of the Fiend's weakness, because he spent all those weeks recovering from Randy Orton burning him alive at TLC. I don't know, but like I said, I just hope that they're not breaking up another good partnership. Because I don't want to see Alexa Bliss go back to the goddess role. I think this role is perfect for her, and she should stay in it for a long time. And the Fiend, man, he just keeps getting done dirty. I don't know if the Fiend will ever get the respect he deserves. But we'll just see what happens on Raw. But very, very weird, And I was very disappointed with the beginning of this show. Moving on, we had the women's we had the women's tag team championship match between Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus Tamina and Natalya. Remember, Tamina and Natalya won this opportunity after they had won the tag team turmoil match on night one. They came out in the same attire they had last night, and I was like I said, I thought Tamina and Natalya had matching ring gear, but I guess not. But either way, there was no Reginald for this match either. So I guess Reginald only gets involved when it becomes the Sasha Banks. Because Reginald was not at ringside. He was nowhere to be found for this tag title match. So, like I said, I believe this was a spot that should honestly been given to the Riot Squad. You guys know I've been big advocates for Liv and Ruby over the last couple years, right? But this match wasn't bad, but it wasn't anything special. There was nothing there. There was no story. There was really nothing to really get invested in. The only big thing here was people wanted to see what would happen with Tamina and Nia Jax. And Tamina actually got cheered a lot tonight, which, I got to give her credit for. You know, she was over. I feel like that's the first and only time, I feel like Tamina will be over. It's pretty easy to be over when you're in the ring with someone like Nia Jax, right? But Uh, so basically, Natalia got isolated from Tamina for a good chunk of the match. They didn't want Tamina to get in. So then Natalia took a big spine buster from Nia Jax. Tamina broke up the pin, right? Then Tamina, finally got the hot tag and she started taking the fight to Baszler. Uh, she countered a carry the clutch into a Samoan drop for a close 2 count. Then we saw uh, Jax tried to do a super Samoan drop while her and Jax were fighting in the ropes in the corner. And then Natalia, made the save. But then Jax did a crossbody on both women. So then Jax started talking trash to Tamina, but Tamina was able to put Jax down with a back fist. She then delivered a very impressive body slam, and then she went for the Superfly Splash, but I knew what was gonna happen because she took a lot of time to charge it up, you know. So it allowed Jax to roll out of the way. Then Natalya entered the match, applied the sharpshooter to the Jax, but she didn't know that Baszler was the legal person. Then Baszler entered, applied the carry for the clutch, and the referee had to call for the belt. So Jax and Baszler were chained. Not that I give a crap, but they did in fact retain. Like I said, I don't know who takes those titles off of Jax and Baszler. It would have made sense tonight, right? Especially, like I said, Tamina was over with that crowd, But either way, I don't really care about the tag titles anyway. So it is what it is. That's the easiest way to put it. It is what it is at this point, you know. So we'll see what happens in terms of that. And you also got to think about it like who is there anybody that you could build up to take those titles from Jackson Baszler? Because the way the women's division is constructed right now, there is nobody to take those titles off of them. They beaten basically everybody. They beat Sasha and Bianca. As much as that, that angers me. We gotta accept the facts. They beat Lana and Naomi already. They beat the Riot Squad. They beat Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. You know, now they beat Tamina and Natalia. Easily, yes, of course, this feud could continue, and maybe it will, right? Maybe Jax, or not Jax, Tamina and Natalia win those titles at the Money in the Bank. Not that I really care, but, I will give credit. WWE has done they've done a decent job of making Jackson Baszler look like a dominant team. As much as I don't like Nia Jax, I still have to admit the truth. Because I wouldn't be doing my job as a podcaster if I didn't say what I thought was the truth. So I don't know, who's taking those titles off of them. I felt like tonight would have been the best time to do it. It's WrestleMania, of course. WrestleMania is the perfect time to do 1,000 title changes and, kind of start fresh. You know what I mean? But they decided not to, and it is what it is. We'll see. But I'm not excited for the women's tag team division going forward. I'm not, because there really isn't anybody else for them to face unless they plan to have another team built up, to face them. But we'll see. We'll see. But Jackson Baszler retained in a match that wasn't anything special. And I'm not going to lie, I kind of slept through this match a little bit. So WrestleMania didn't open up on a high note. The first two matches were very disappointing, but things started to pick up with the third match here. So we had Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn next up. Logan Paul was the special guest. I don't really care. He was more like the I don't special. He wasn't. He was on commentary. He wasn't a referee. I'm leaving the word. He was just I don't even want to say manager. He was just the special guest. Really, that's the best word to say. He was the special guest. He sat at ringside and didn't do anything. He just reacted to the match. But this was big for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I've been saying this match should have been happening since they both got drafted to SmackDown in October. I was kind of hoping that this would be for the IC title, but it wasn't. But I was just happy that we were still getting the match at the end of the day. And you know, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, they fought in so many promotions. We know their history in WWE from NXT to the main roster, Fight Forever. Remember, they were tag team partners at WrestleMania a couple years ago when they went up against Bryan and Sami Zayn, and now having a match with one another. So I know personally, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, they're very close to one another, both being from Canada. So this had to mean so much to one another that they were actually able to finally have a match, with each other at WrestleMania on the grandest stage of them all, right? You could see the excitement in Sami Zayn's eyes. You could see the passion and the emotion in Kevin Owens. When Kevin Owens came out, man, he got a huge pop, one of the biggest pops of the night, and he was very emotional coming down to the ring, hyping up the crowd. So I love seeing Kevin Owens with that emotion because Kevin Owens, he's a simple guy, right? He wrestles in, a sleeveless tank, shorts, and wrestling boots. Plus, his entrance is pretty simple. He has simple music. So to see him very emotional, and passionate tonight, that was great to see. All right. So, like I said, Logan Paul, the special guest, he was watching from the ringside area. So KO started off the match with a pop up powerbomb right as the bell rang. Then there was chance of Logan Sucks coming from the stands. So Logan Paul was not like that at all. And you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of celebrity guests. I feel like what Bad Bunny did last night with his MVP performance, I feel like that's going to be now the new standard from what we expect from celebrity guest hosts or whatever, whenever celebrities come in for these, special attraction type of events, right? Because if somebody like Bad Bunny, one of the, the best singers in the world, could come on and give us a performance like that, especially with that Canadian Destroyer, you know, then I feel like everybody who comes in, no matter who they are going to be, compared or to that level, no matter what. So, Logan, if you guys watch it, Logan, when he came out, his entrance actually had like, it sounded like some piped in crowd noise. But any chance that they put Logan on the screen, he was getting Logan suck chance and he was getting booed. People were not on Logan's side at all. And I said, I texted my boy Anthony, I texted him and I told him, I want KO to stun both Zayn and Logan Paul before this is all over. All right. So then we saw Owens. He hit Zayn with a cannonball. He went to the top rope, but Zayn rolled out to the ring apron. Zayn then caught Owens with a boot to the face and followed with a suplex that drove KO's head, neck, and back into the apron. Very dangerous spot, but we know those two trust each other. So then Zayn took control of the belt. He did a beautiful looking Minanoku driver, which earned him a 2 count. Then Owens fought back, and then he drove Zayn neck first across his own knee for a near fall. Then he did a package powerbomb, but Zayn countered and delivered an exploder suplex. Then he went for the Huluva kick, but Owens evaded and set up for the stunner, but Zayn countered that into a blue thunder bomb. I love the blue thunder bomb. I honestly feel like it should be a finisher. It is that beautiful of a move. One of these days, Zayn has to win a match. He has to beat somebody with the blue thunder bomb. It has to happen at some point. But after KO kicked out, he hit another exploder and then a brain buster. So like I said, Zayn was bringing out everything. People forget how good Sami Zayn is because people just look at his character work, and Zayn is just as good in the ring than his character work. Zayn's like a fantastic character, and he really makes you believe that he's a delusional guy, right? He comes off with the way he dresses, the way he looks, the way he acts. He comes off as a delusional guy, but people forget that this guy is fantastic in the ring. He's just that good at his job. So after the brainbuster, right click KO delivered a fisherman suplex from the top rope, which looked brutal. The way if you looked at Logan Paul and how he reacted at ringside, he was absolutely shocked. So Zayn recovered and hit Owens with the Huluva kick, right? But instead of pinning Owens, he tried to go for another one. But then Owens countered and hit him with two super kicks. All right. And then he told Zayn once again that he's delusional and he needed to wake up. And then hit him with a stunner for the win. So KO gets another WrestleMania victory. This is actually his third WrestleMania victory, people. All right. Remember, he beat Chris Jericho for the U.S. Championship at 33. He beat Rollins last year. And now this year he beats Sami Zayn. So happy for KO. You know, after the match, celebrating with his family and the fans, very, very excited. I was very happy for KO, man. I'm gonna keep saying it. I need KO to get some gold. I need KO to be a prize fighter again. I don't think KO needs to be a heel. KO is one of my favorite baby faces in the company. I love Kevin Owens. You know, I just want to see him fight for a championship. And now that Apollo Crews is the IC champion, I feel like KO versus Apollo Crews as a feud for the IC championship going into the summer on SmackDown is absolutely what we need. Absolutely what we need. By the time SummerSlam rolls around, I feel like KO should be the Intercontinental Champion. I think that's what we need to do with KO going into SummerSlam. My favorite part of this all, though, is after the match. So, uh, Sami Zayn was trying to talk to Logan Paul, who they finally turned on each other, and then Logan Paul raised up KO's hand in the air, and KO was like, "Huh?" The whole time I was chanting Stunner, the entire crowd was chanting Stunner. Everyone was like, "Stun him, stun him, stun him," and I don't know if that was the actual plan, because Logan Paul was actually kind of a baby face. He was a baby face on SmackDown when Sami Zayn introduced him. And he didn't do anything. He had nothing involved in the match. He never did anything wonky or anything like that. He raised KO's hand. I feel like if Logan Paul didn't get booed, nothing would have happened. But I think WWE's attention there was for Logan Paul to get the cheers, but he didn't get the cheers. He got booed, and KO. I think KO saw this and was like, "Oh, let's make a moment out of this." And then KO hit Logan Paul with a stunner, which Logan Paul actually sold pretty beautifully. Not gonna lie, he didn't. It's not like he didn't know how to sell it. So then KO, he celebrated with the crowd as Logan Paul was helped to the back area. So I don't know. I've already seen people pitching this idea for SummerSlam. If that WWE wants to continue this, at SummerSlam they could do KO and Sami Zayn versus the Paul brothers. Logan and Jake Paul, right? Because you guys have seen videos of Sami Zayn approaching Logan Paul while he was boxing. So if WWE wants to do that, they can. I'm not a big fan of Jake Paul anyway. I'm not even the biggest fan of Logan Paul, but I find Logan a little more likable than Jake. But and you guys know I'm not even a big fan of celebrities in WWE. But if WWE wants to, why not, right? The Logans, the Paul brothers, they're in fantastic shape. I feel like they could do a couple wrestling moves here and there, and who knows? Maybe KO versus Sammy versus the Paul brothers. If they want to do that at SummerSlam, that I guess they can make it work. I don't know. We're still a long ways to go till SummerSlam, but I'm just talking about it because I saw a lot of people talking about it on social media. But either way, this was good. This was good, really good. Happy for Owens and Zayn for them to get their moment. They put on a really good match. In my opinion, one of the top 5 matches of the entire weekend. And we'll see. But like I said, I feel like what's next for KO, he needs to go after the IC title. I need to see KO the prize fighter again. Next up, we had the United States Championship with Matt Riddle versus Sheamus. We've seen this match already a couple of times over the last couple of weeks, but this time with the belt on the line, this was really good. Like I knew it was gonna be good. It's Sheamus, it's Riddle, right? They have fantastic chemistry with one another, and they always go at it. They just go brawling, right? So basically, Sheamus attacked Riddle from the opening bell, focusing on the left arm. All right. Then Then Sheamus hit Riddle with the 10 beat chest, right? And you can see the welt starting to form on Riddle's chest here. So then Riddle went up and did a super belly to belly overhead suplex. Riddle then rocked Sheamus with corner suplexes, an exploder, and a broton. Then a jackhammer, but then Sheamus kicked out at two. Sheamus fought out of the bro Derek and rocked Riddle with a bro kick, but Riddle kicked out at two. And that would not be the only bro kick in this match. Riddle then stunned Sheamus with a kick on the floor, then wiped him out with a suicide dive. Then back inside the square circle, he went for a submission, but Sheamus powered out and drove his opponent to the mat. Then Riddle regained control with a sleeper hold, but Sheamus made it to the ropes to force the break. Sheamus looked for the Irish curse from the ropes, but Riddle escaped. Then they were fighting on the top rope, and it looked like Sheamus was going to go for a super white noise, but he actually slipped. He was able to get the move done, but he wasn't able to do it from the top rope like he intended. Then Sheamus went for a knee drop, which looked actually pretty good. Kind of reminded me of Seth Rollins just a little bit, just a little bit. Then Riddle recovered and went for a springboard moonsault, but Sheamus caught him mid-fight with a bro kick to get the win and the title. This bro kick was absolutely ridiculous because the timing here, man. Like I said, Riddle was backwards. He was backwards, upside down when he went for the moonsault. And when Sheamus caught him on the jaw, you could see after the match where Riddle was bleeding right where Sheamus had hit the kick. So clearly Riddle took that full force and in what was a really dangerous spot, right? So Sheamus gets the win here. Another great match between these two. These two have fantastic chemistry. This will probably continue, but Sheamus deserved this. I will say this again. Sheamus has been one of the best and most consistent workers on Monday Night Raw all year. You know, no matter if it's him against Bobby Lashley or him versus Keith Lee or him versus Drew McIntyre, no matter who Sheamus faces, he delivers every single time. I have no problem with him winning the U.S. Championship. He deserves it. He deserves it. Remember, Sheamus had one of the longest U.S. Championship reigns in history back in the day. I think this was like, what, 2014, 2015, if I'm correct. You know, I don't know how long Sheamus will hold the title now, but he'll definitely elevate people with it. You know, but I do think we're gonna have a superstar shakeup here in the next couple weeks, so that should be able to get Sheamus some, some new blood, some new challengers. So it should be good. Riddle looked good here. For his first WrestleMania, he went out there and put on a fantastic show. And he has nothing to be ashamed about. I just hope WWE continues to push him, right? I don't like how they make him sound like an idiotic hipster at times, but either way, man, Riddle did a great job here in his first WrestleMania. Great match, the right winner. Sheamus deserves this, so we'll see what happens with him going forward. Next up, we had a Nigerian drum fight for the Intercontinental Championship. Big E versus Apollo Crews. This has been a feud that's been going on for about 3 months now, since the beginning of the year. And like I said, man, everything looked like this was going to be Big E's big night, right? Big E cut a beautiful promo on Friday, talking about his hometown origins, right? He got his song played out. I don't know who wrote his theme song. I don't really care. I I love Big E. I just didn't really care, but no. But based on how everything was set up with the music, the hometown crowd, it looked like everything was prepared for Big E to get his big moment. And remember, Big E hasn't even won a WrestleMania match. Going into this, same thing like Asuka and Sasha Banks. A lot of people, who have not won WrestleMania matches in the past, didn't get their WrestleMania moments tonight. Not Big E, not Asuka, not Sasha, and that's sad. But the other thing here, I've been saying this for weeks. If Apollo didn't win this match tonight, and he ended this feud with Big E without being the IC champion, the heel turn would have been a waste. It would have been a waste, and kind of glad they did what they did tonight. You know, the Nigerian drum match was basically in a way just another. It was basically just like a no DQ match. Really, that's what it was. A no DQ or an Extreme Rules match, just with drums. That was about it. There was candlesticks. There was a little bit of cymbals. You know, but there was not. It was nothing different from an Extreme Rules or no DQ match, really. So, uh, so the match started off with these two going off with candlesticks, and you could hear it throughout the entire arena as these two were just going at it, hitting each other. Then, uh, then we saw Biggie went for his normal suicide dive, and he actually speared Apollo all the way through. Usually, when Biggie does the suicide dive, he kind of lets go right as he does the move, and it scares you. But this time, he went all the way through, holding on to Apollo the entire uh, way through the maneuver. So then Apollo took over, or Apollo took control of the match. Then he took a bunch of chairs and slammed them on the Big E. Uh, then uh, then he hit, or Big E hit Cruz with a Urigari that drove Apollo onto the steel steps, which was under the ring apron, which was a very brutal spot. Then Apollo was able to sucker Big E into hitting him with a bunch of candlestick shots, and then Cruz went up the ropes for a splash but missed, and he went right through the table. Then Big E hit the big ending, and it looked like Big E was about to get his WrestleMania moment, but Dabakato showed up out of nowhere. So you guys remember, a lot of you guys may not remember Dabakato because he's only made a couple appearances on WWE TV. Remember, he was on Shane McMahon's Raw Underground for the month that disaster lasted. You know, he was on there with Shane McMahon, and you know how Vince loves his big man. Vince has this weird addiction with big men. So here with Dabakato came out, he delivered a chokeslam to Big E, and Big E laid there motionless as Apollo crawled over to make the pin and win the IC championship. So happy for Apollo, a little bit sad for Big E because Big E, he's still in that crowd with Sasha and Asuka, who, WWE's top stars that don't have a WrestleMania victory to their name. But you gotta be happy for Apollo. So this, makes his heel turn legitimate, and now he aligns himself with Dabakato, who, will probably serve as like a bodyguard for him, kind of similar to almost an AJ before they became a tag team. But, you know, I don't, I don't know how I feel because I feel like WWE has too many big men, and I don't want WWE to fall into this big man addiction. You already have people like Strowman, right? You already have Keith Lee. You already have enough big men, and now you have Almas. Now you have Dabakato. We'll see where this goes. Unless Big E's headed towards the main event scene, like he belongs, or he gets put on Raw in the next couple weeks when we have the Superstar Shakeup eventually. Uh, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. Will Biggie probably just chase after Apollo now? Now that the roles were reversed, it's gonna be difficult, of course, now with Dabakato in the way. But it's gonna be difficult for anybody that Apollo faces. But still, I'm not mad at the ending at all. Apollo kind of needed this. The only thing is Biggie remains winless at WrestleMania. But still, if Biggie is heading towards the main event scene or they have bigger plans for him, I'm not against this decision whatsoever. So I'm going to wait and hold judgment. I'm going to wait to see what happens with Biggie a little bit after this because I believe that guy's the main event star and potentially could be the guy that takes that title away from Roman Reigns eventually. It's so hard to drink guys with a sore throat. Next up, we had the Raw Women's Championship match with Asuka and Rhea Ripley. You know, we had Asuka Catello. She played Rhea Ripley to the ring. There were some audio issues with this at the beginning. At first, you couldn't hear her. All right, but the great thing was the fire pyro that came with Rhea's entrance. You know, and remember this was big for Rhea Ripley because last year she was supposed to go up against Charlotte Flair, and she didn't get that moment because of it was in the Performance Center. And I've seen a lot of people. You kind of compare, make this comparison. Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, right? These two young stars now taking control of the women's divisions on Raw and SmackDown. You know, people making that comparison to John Cena Batista back from WrestleMania 21, and I can see why you may agree with the comparison, but WWE, in my opinion, hasn't done a proper job of building up Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, right? Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks made magic happen on night one of WrestleMania. You didn't get that same magic here. This match was kind of a disappointing. The match wasn't bad. It wasn't bad, but I felt like it could have been a lot better. I was hoping that this match would contend with Sasha and Bianca from last night, and there was a couple points in it where I thought it was starting to make that turn, but it never truly made that turn. Mainly because the crowd really wasn't invested into the match. They really weren't invested into the story, and could you blame them? This was all made together in the last 2 weeks. This is why I hate how WWE makes all these matches together in a 2 week period and then just decides that hey, everything's gonna work out just because it's WWE. Everything always works out. I feel like WWE's business approach in that regard is 100% wrong. And the big thing here, is that there was no Charlotte, there was no Becky Lynch, right? I went into this trying to prepare myself that that Charlotte or Becky Lynch would be added to this match, and then they would make it into a triple threat or a fatal four way, but they didn't, and the match wasn't bad. It was just it felt sloppy. It felt a little rushed. It felt like WWE was rushing to get to the main event. It truly did, and they didn't give Rhea and Asuka enough time. The match was like I believe it was less than 15 minutes, and it wasn't a bad match. It wasn't a bad match at all. It just didn't live up to what I expected, especially with what Rhea and Charlotte did in the freaking Performance Center last year with no crowd. And I consider Asuka to be a better record than Charlotte, but this was disappointing. This was disappointing, if you ask me. So Oscar, right? Oscar gave this match a nice, fast-paced start, going after Rhea right away. But Rhea was able to take control after shaking off a kick to the shoulder blades, and then she delivered a kick to Oscar's chest. Right, but and Rhea was talking a lot of trash to Asuka as the match continued. There was a point where actually where Rhea was slapping the back of Asuka's head when the crowd was booing, and I was like, is Rhea supposed to be a heel or a babyface here? Because at one point, you have Rhea pandering to the crowd, and at another point, she's slapping Asuka's head, trying to get herself booed. I don't know. Is Rhea a tweeter? I don't know. All right. So next, then we saw Rhea. She went for a ripcord kick, but Asuka caught her leg and then applied a submission. Ripley fought out and delivered a German suplex for a close 2 count. Then she went for a side suplex from the ropes, but Asuka fought out and delivered a beautiful missile drop kick. Then Asuka rocked Ripley with a kick, then went for her normal hip attack, right? Then Rhea dropped her with a standing drop kick, and then Ripley hoisted Asuka onto her shoulders and brought her down. There, in my favorite spot from the match, Asuka did a DDT off the apron to the floor, a jumping DDT. And those are the spots you gotta be very dangerous of. If Asuka's not careful, she can break her back. Rhea could break her neck, or get a concussion. So the fact that Asuka was able to deliver the DDT with such ease and be able to keep her and Rhea safe, that was good. Then Asuka went for a running knee. You know, uh, then Asuka went for some Kawada kicks, but then Ropey caught her and dropped her and stomped away. So then, they trade submission holds, which was pretty cool, and at the end, Asuka countered with the Asuka lock, but Ripley was able to counter it, and then Asuka tried to hit her with a kick, and then Ripley dried her with a Riptide for the win. New Raw Women's Champion. This was, especially the ending. The ending was rushed. You could tell that they wanted to go to the main event. They wanted to get to the main event really badly. And this match wasn't bad. It just wasn't anything special. You know, Asuka did her thing. Rhea did look a little bit nervous at times, but for the most part, she did her thing. But I didn't really like the rush ending of the match. It felt like it could have gone like another 5, 10 minutes, but it is what it is. But the big thing is, like, the crowd wasn't even that high for Rhea. You know, it didn't feel as special as Bianca's title win. You know, Bianca had all the pyro and everything in the main event. You know, she had her family at ringside. But for people who are trying to call this like John Cena and Batista, man, you know, I didn't see that at all. I didn't see that at all. And even though I'm happy for Rhea Ripley because in reality, this was the moment she was supposed to get last year at WrestleMania, right? If there was no pandemic, if there was fans in the arena, if there was no such thing as Charlotte Flair, right? Rhea would have got this moment last year, but she got it this year. But the title win wasn't even, it didn't really feel as special as the one when she won the NXT championship against Shayna Baszler back at the end of 2019, I believe, you know? So, the title win felt disappointing. And then the other thing is, now the pressure's on. You guys got what you wanted, right? You guys been telling me that you guys want Rhea and Bianca to win. Well, they both won. They are now both collectively the faces of the Raw and SmackDown Women's Division. They're the faces of the Women's Division. Now the pressure's on. You got your title wins. You got put over by two of the best superstars in WWE history in Asuka and Sasha Banks, especially when it comes to talk about the women's division and everything they've done. I wouldn't say this is a passing of the torch moment, but because Asuka and Sasha Banks are not going anywhere. And I think we all know that Sasha and them will win gold again at some point sooner rather than later. You know? So now the pressure's on both to deliver. Because I'm going to be sitting here every single week, every single pay-per-view, and I will have no hesitation to go off if they're not doing their job. Because this is what you guys wanted, right? This is how we're building the next generation. This is how we're building the new stars. We're supposed to be Ripley and Bianca Belair. I felt like we should have saved these two moments for SummerSlam, but they decided to do it at WrestleMania because why not? So now the pressure's on. They have to deliver now as champions. They have to be able to deliver and go out there and have compelling feuds, compelling matches, and tell stories because that's how you build yourself up as a top champion in WWE. And here's the thing. I'm way more nervous about this with Rhea than I am with Bianca. Right? With Bianca, of course, you could have Sasha Banks, you could have Becky if Becky goes to SmackDown, or you could always have Bayley. You always have options there. But with Raw, it's a little bit different. And that's because this was supposed to be Charlotte Flair. Unfortunately, the original plan was for Charlotte Flair to be in this match. It was supposed to be, remember, it was supposed to originally be Charlotte versus Asuka. But, then Charlotte had the COVID problem, and then what happened with Andrade, and all that. I'll tell you right now, I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow night, but if Becky's not back, it's gonna be Charlotte, and I don't think Rhea's gonna have a long reign, because I know for a fact that we would have much rather have had Charlotte be there tonight and probably get that win. And like I said, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, because almost anything's better than Charlotte being champion. But still, just trying to give you guys the facts. And of course, I'm concerned about Bianca. We'll see what happens with her and Sasha Banks if they have a rematch set up and all these other things. But either way, man, the pressure's on. The pressure's on. You won the title. Now you said your name's established. Now you got to go carve up a legacy for yourself. Defending that title everywhere they tell you to go. Doing what you got to do. putting on classics every single night. It's that simple. And if they don't get the job done, you guys are gonna hear it from me. You guys are gonna hear it from me. You know. So we'll see. We'll see. Uh, and like I said, yeah, the match was a little bit more of a disappointment. I feel like Ripley and Oscar could have gotten a lot more, do a lot better, but it is what it is. All right. I will mention this just quickly. So, first off, no one gives a crap on Hulk Hogan. I know I've said that before, but either way, you know, there was a point where all the hosts were on stage, and Bailey came out, and I'm like I said, I don't know how Bailey feels about this. It just kind of like I said, it bothers me that Bailey, all time great Bailey, right, who her and Sasha carried the company on their back throughout the pandemic, and Bailey didn't have a match at all. There's these 2 nights of Mania, had nothing planned, and I'm just like, really, this is Bailey we're talking about, right? You know, you could have her like, this how you reward her by having her play this co-host fantasy crap, you know, for WrestleMania. Like Bailey's better than that. You know, you're telling me you could have gotten a legend or anybody to come in to face Bailey at Mania. I don't know. I don't know. That I didn't. Uh, that 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 bothered me. But what bothered me even more is after Bailey came out, the Bellatons came out, and they threw Bailey halfway down the ramp. They disrespected her. I was like, I know the Bellatons want to come back to eventually win the tag titles, which I don't care about. It's just I don't like Bailey being treated like that after everything she's done with the company. You know, everything she's done for this company in the last year, especially since the pandemic started. It's just like, really? This is what we're doing? You know, but it is it is what it is. You know, maybe we'll see Bailey climb back into the top picture, especially now with Bianca as champion. It depends on if they want to do the Sasha Banks rematch right away, but we'll see. Hopefully next year Bailey won't be on hosting duties and she'll be back in the ring fighting for titles or whatever it is at WrestleMania, like she deserves to. All right. So last but not least, the triple threat match for the Universal Championship. This was absolutely awesome from start to finish. This was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Gotta give credit to everybody involved. I already talked about at the beginning of the podcast, how great Roman Reigns is and why this is the Roman Reigns we should have got from the beginning. So I'm not going to talk about it, too much here. I'm more going to focus on the match and where we go from here. But like I said, Daniel Bryan should have been in this match from the beginning. I've been saying this since back with the WWE draft in October. Bryan versus Reigns was originally supposed to be the match, in my opinion, and it should have been Edge versus McIntyre. But now I'm glad that they went the triple threat route. This was great, but they did make a couple mistakes, right? If you guys heard the introduction that Edge probably got Edge probably got the loudest pop of the weekend, easily. Edge, remember, this is a recently heel Edge, right? Edge turned heel a couple weeks ago, or at least he's supposed to be a heel. If you want to call Edge a tweener, sure, because he was pandering to the crowd. But, Edge came out and, the pop he got, especially everyone knew his pyro, right? Edge was the guy they wanted to see win this match. Everybody was rooting for Edge. They wanted Edge to win that title tonight. They really did. I honestly thought he was gonna win it. For me, I saw Roman as the least likely to walk out champion, Bryan second, and then I saw Edge as the favorite. You know, and especially when you think that crowd reaction he got, man. Even Daniel Bryan was getting boos. Not because people didn't like Daniel Bryan, it's because people really wanted to see Edge win. And this is kind of, a little bit of this is WWE's fault. They decided to turn Edge fully back into the radar superstar. So you knew Edge was going to do some crazy stuff in this match, which he did, which we'll talk about. But you kind of knew that, uh, you kind of knew that Edge was going to get this kind of response. That you turning Edge back into the regular superstar and the book him the way you had these last couple of weeks, you kind of knew that, all right, this could affect the way some of the responses our superstars get. Because Daniel Bryan, he's the underdog. Technically it's supposed to be Daniel Bryan. It's supposed to be a babyface versus two Hall of Fame heels. But, instead here you have Edge getting the loudest babyface response and everybody wanting him to win. You know, Reigns got, about 50-50, got boos and cheers, right? And the stage was set, and I was so hyped for this match, man. The video package was absolutely crazy. That's one of the best main event video packages I've seen in a long time. I love the video package for this match. Basically just telling the story of this match from the perspectives of all three men, right? Edge, Bryan, and Reigns. I love that. So, from start to finish, this was great. The action was intense. Uh, so Jay Uso was at ringside, who and he did have a significant role. So Reigns took out Bryan from the opening bell, and then him and Ed started fighting to the floor. Roman cleared the announce table early, and Jay Uso helped take out the competitors and keep them down while Roman was clearing the table. This was, like I said, the only thing I really didn't like about this match. Jay Uso really had no business being out there. Like, come on, it's WrestleMania. Why couldn't they just keep it a triple threat? It almost felt like it was a handicap advantage, because you had to deal with, Jay Uso, of course. And then you had Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman never gets involved in these matches. He just usually watches and gives us epic facial expressions from the sidelines. But, uh, then we see Bryan. He went for a suicide dive to take out Jey Uso. Then we saw Edge attack Uso and hit him with an execution on top of the steel steps, right? So they took Uso out of the arena, but Uso unfortunately would come back a little bit later. So then we saw Edge and Bryan go up against each other inside the ring. They got a huge pop, So I wouldn't be surprised if Edge and Bryan have another match with each other in the coming months, especially after the way Reigns dominated that match tonight. So Bryan went for a head scissors off the top rope. Edge countered into a sunset flip for two. Then he hit the Edge on Magic, but then Reigns got back into the ring. Bryan pulled Reigns off the apron and delivered a top rope not a drop kick to Edge. Then they took Bryan out and threw him onto the outside of the ring. Then we see Edge hit Reigns with execution. Reigns recovered and tried for a spear at the same time as his opponent, and it was a nice little double down spot. So Edge and Roman both going for the spear, and then they hit each other. So then Bryan came back into the ring. He delivered a diving headbutt to both Reigns and Edge. Then he hit Edge with the running knee after doing the yes lock, or not the yes lock, the yes kicks. And then he hit Reigns with his own kick, which got him a near fall, but Reigns kicked out. So then Bryan applied the yes lock on Reigns, but then Edge broke up the submission. Then Bryan was able to get the yes lock in on Edge, and it was funny because, Daniel Bryan had his tongue out like he was like the Undertaker or John Cena in that situation, or not John Cena, like Michael Jordan in that situation. So I kind of liked, I actually love Bryan's confidence here. Then we see Reigns break up the submission move. Then, Reigns, like I said, one of the great things here, remember, was that this was Edge, or not Edge, this was Reigns' first time as a heel performing in front of an actual live audience. So Reigns is beating the crap out of Dana Bryan on the outside in the ring, and he's actually like talking crap to WWE superstars while doing it, which was phenomenal. We need to keep that up going into the future, hopefully, whenever WWE has a touring schedule again. But then Reigns, uh, Then Reigns hit a power bomb on Daniel Bryan, sending him through the announce table. But out of nowhere, Edge hit Reigns with a spear on the outside. And the fans started chanting, "This is awesome," as this was really good. One thing when you have a triple threat match, you have to keep the action going. You can't have these long cooldown moments to give people time to recover, because that's when it hurts the match itself. So then Edge grabbed the chair on ringside after spearing Reigns and entered the square circle. Uh, then we see Reigns and Edge playing tug of war with the chair, and then there was a small piece of the chair that broke up. So then Edge went for the crossface, and he tried using the loose piece of metal to help, and make Reigns tap out. And if you see Edge, this one Edge's mind was going to the other place, because you look at Edge, and Edge was just going like cynical, like Attitude Era Edge. I'm talking about Edge versus McFoley, crazy. So, but all of a sudden, this was almost one. This was it may have been my favorite spot of the night. So, as it's going crazy, right, and his eyes are turning black and purple. All of a sudden we see Reigns. It looks like he's about to tap out because he can't take the pain anymore. But Bryan broke up the hold by himself. He takes Reigns' hand and puts him in his own like unique version of a submission. So now it's like a double submission, and nobody wants that. We need a clear winner. So then Bryan and Edge are just headbutting each other, trying to gain control. Then Bryan teased going for the running knee, but Edge caught him in a spear. So then Edge hit a spear on Reigns, and at this point you're thinking Edge is about to win. He just hit a spear on both Edge, or no, Edge. You're thinking Edge is about to win because he just hit a spear on both Reigns and Daniel Bryan. But all of a sudden, before the referee could make the 3 count, Bryan pulled the referee out of the ring. Something you don't really see from baby faces that often, but this is WrestleMania. So, so that so Edge, who was furious with Bryan for ruining his pin attempt, where ruining the history he was trying to make, all we see is Edge. He gets like a trio of steel chairs. He places two on the apron, and then he starts blasting Daniel Bryan with them, right? So this kind of reminded me a lot of WrestleMania 17, because Edge was just going back and forth, just beating the crap out of both Bryan and Rowan. You know, so then he finally did the concerto to Daniel Bryan, the one he's been teasing now for 3 weeks. Then Jey Uso came back and attacked Edge again, and then Edge speared him and hit him with multiple chair shots to keep it out of the match for good. But unfortunately, this allowed Reigns to recover, and then he blasted Edge with a spear, and then he hit his own concerto on Edge. So remember, Edge has been teasing the concerto now for weeks, and he was able to do part of it on DB, but he wasn't able to do it on the champ. Reigns recovered and waited for the exact right moment. So then, after he hit Edge with the spear, he had a concerto of his own Edge. And I thought at this point there's a chance for Daniel Bryan, because maybe Daniel Bryan was able to make it up the subway and finally get there to the arena. But, I was like, I don't know. But either way, man, Reigns hitting Edge with the spear and hitting the concerto of his own, man, that is fantastic storytelling. So then we see Reigns drag Edge on the Bryan who's knocked out because of the concerto Edge hit him with a couple minutes before. So Reigns pinned both men and retained the title, and that's how the show closed out. Tons of pyro, and what I would say is the most surprising ending. You know, I'm not gonna say it really shocked me. But I'm happy for Roman, man. He is the top guy in the company. He should have been this way 5 years ago. I wish, but either way, the triple threat was absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And I have no problems with the decision because I said if Bryan wins it, or especially if Edge wins it, it's almost like a placeholder. It's like a placeholder, really, because I guarantee you, they probably already had plans for Roman to regain that title, 2 3 months later if that's what he has to do, you know. So it's ironic. It really is. And seeing Roman celebrate, and especially knowing that everything he's done with this heel run so far, this is like the peak of the mountain for him, and he deserves it. He is WWE's top guy right now. It took them 5 years to finally turn him heel and finally get it right, but I'm glad that they did. And like I said, it kind of sucks for Edge because 10 years to the day of his retirement, he was not able to get the job done. And for Daniel Bryan, if this is his last WrestleMania, we're never gonna forget WrestleMania 30 or WrestleMania 31 because of those two big moments from back then. But either way, man, you know, like I said, if Reigns had lost, they would have probably gave him the title back a couple weeks later. So it would have been a short title reign regardless. But it was a fantastic main event. Reminds me of John Cena versus Brock Lesnar versus Seth back from the Rumble a couple years ago. Reminds me of a lot of great mate trip for that main event. The crowd was fully behind on the edge of their seats for this, even though they were cheering mainly for Edge, right? And they were actually booing Daniel Bryan and Reigns a lot. But still, it was absolutely fantastic, and I'm not mad at the decision at all. What happens going forward? If they want, they could do an Edge and Daniel Bryan singles feud, because I feel like for right now, it's gonna take these two out of the title picture, especially DB, who you guys know I love, but he's kind of had two or three straight title shots and hasn't been able to get the job done. So if we're being fair and objective, I think it's time for DB to take a little bit of a break away from the Universal Championship. You know, so we'll see what happens there. But I think DB could have to take a break from the title picture. Edge, like I said, originally Edge was never supposed to be there, but he's there now. So maybe maybe we get a continuation of this Edge and Daniel Bryan feud. These two clearly have unresolved issues with one another. So maybe we get that instead. Never know. But still, you know, I don't know if Edge, you know, should keep playing. I don't. It was a great moment, of course, seeing the crowd behind him, but I don't know. I don't know what you do with Edge from here. Maybe you haven't, like I said, maybe you haven't feud with Daniel Bryan. Maybe you haven't go after the WWE Championship, even though I doubt he would win, but I don't know. I don't know what you do with Daniel Bryan and Edge going forward other than what I just listed. But for Reigns, when does Reigns lose that title? The most likely, I would say, the most likely would probably be SummerSlam. SummerSlam. I would build somebody up for SummerSlam. Reigns is not gonna drop that title on a Money in the Bank show or something, crazy like that. I feel like when Reigns does lose that title, it's gonna be to a younger star, because him pinning both Edge and Daniel Bryan doesn't hurt their legacies, right? They're already two future Hall of Famers. Edge already is a Hall of Famer, you know, so it is what it is there. But now that you have Reigns beating legends and huge superstars, I feel like what would be next for him, all right, would be the best is continue this epic heel run, continue this epic heel championship reign, and maybe at SummerSlam, build up someone like a Big E or a Nakamura or a Cesaro, to be the one to beat Reigns for good and finally end this tribal chief phase. Even though I don't think Roman should ever be turned into a babyface again, especially after tonight. But either way, it is what it is. There's not much to do about it. But Reigns wins. I think Reigns will probably hold on to that championship around SummerSlam, especially that being the place where this kind of all began for Roman Reigns. But still, I'm thinking guys like maybe Cesaro and Big E. But hopefully, WWE builds it up properly because right now Reigns is operating on a whole nother level where nobody can touch him. Right, and I love after the match when Reigns is just talking crap to the fans. He's talking crap to the superstars. He's just going off. Even if you can't even hear what he's saying, man, it's still great. It's still fantastic. All right, but I'm happy for Reigns. I'm happy for his fans. This is a great run. Don't end it unless you actually have a plan in place. All right, but either way, man, Reigns is fantastic. Edge is fantastic. I love the facial expressions from Edge, especially when he was just about to make the concerto. Like he had, they kept out not going insane. I love Daniel Bryan and the heart and the passion he fought in here. Fantastic main event. Fantastic main event. We'll see what they have planned for Reigns going forward. But this still, man, this shows that he's the top guy in WWE, and this is long overdue. Fantastic stuff from him tonight, man. But all in all, this was a great main event. The two main events, man, Sasha and Bianca for night one, and the Triple Threat Universal Championship match, both fantastic, easily fantastic. But other than that, I don't really have much else to say, man. The match was great. You know, we'll see what happens. Hopefully now they'll make another fresh opponent for Reigns for what's the next pay for you, Buddy Bake? Maybe it's Shinsuke Nakamura. Maybe it's Big E. Maybe it's Cesaro. We'll see. We'll see. But I love what Reigns is doing, and hopefully they'll keep it up. But either way, like I said, the main events for both night one and night two of Mania were absolutely fantastic. And everything else was just like was either good or really bad, really. But it is what it is. But let me know you guys' thoughts on Wrestlemania as a whole. I think, especially thanks to them having fans back and having the live crowd, feature in that really, really, really helped this weekend. Especially knowing that if this was a normal weekend, we would have been sitting there for 7 hours, and none of us want to have to do that again. So hopefully WWE highly considers keeping the 2 night format going forward. I really, really would push hard for that. But overall, WrestleMania was not bad this year. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't anything like, oh my gosh, it was the best WrestleMania ever. It wasn't that, you know. But I feel like the 2 nights was easily able to help it out a lot, especially when you have the opinion of night one being better than night two, and that being the majority of a lot of people thinking, right? But either way, it was just really good to have wrestling back in business as they were tagging it. Because right now, we're going back to Monday Night Raw tomorrow night, and they're going to be in the Thunderdome. And that's the way it's going to be until, everything's all ready to go back to normal. But for right now, man, I'm grateful that, we were able to have this experience with WrestleMania in front of a live crowd this year. You know, because it makes you think that there's the light at the end of the tunnel. And then that we can get through this if we just continue to band together. That's really what it reminds me of. But either way, other than that, guys, thank you guys for everything, man. My voice is absolutely shot. If you guys cannot tell, man, my voice is pretty much gone. I don't know how I'm gonna get through this week. But I would really appreciate if you guys leave a like on the video. Subscribe if you guys are new by hitting the bell next to my name, Fitzmonk TV, so you guys are notified every time I post a new video. Make sure, guys, to follow me on social media if you guys haven't already. The link is down there below. I will be back here for Monday Night Raw tomorrow night, depending on when you guys are looking at this. And if you guys haven't checked out the Night 1 review, it is live on the channel as we speak. But other than that, guys, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe, stay healthy, y'all. Peace.